Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about some of the animals that I don't have but I really, really want. And I thought about how to organize this. Like, should I talk about the ones I want the most first, or should I save them till last, or should I break it down into ones that I want more and then ones that I don't want as much but I think I'll probably have? I don't know. So I'm just gonna roll with it and hopefully it makes sense to you. I have a list of 7 right here on my computer in front of me that I know that I will someday have, and there's 2 in particular that I am dying to have and I would already have if I would, wanted to support breeders and stuff, but like I said, I like to wait for the proper situations to come along in terms of adoption and rescue. So if it wasn't for that, I'd already have them, but I don't, and that would be a cave gecko and a crocodile skink, or a red-eyed crocodile skink is like the full title, but I am dying to have those. Last year, I almost got a cave gecko. Some of you may remember when I was talking about like a new animal friend I was gonna get, and I never got it, and it was the cave gecko. And what happened was I was supposed to meet up with that person. They picked the place, they picked the time. My fiance and I drove an hour there, and they did not show up. So we drove an hour home. I was in tears, so upset, because I get really excited about these things. Like, I get attached very quickly. So we drove home and I contacted them, obviously a bunch that day, and they didn't get back to me till later. And they were like, oh, so sorry, like, couldn't make it, some sort of like family emergency or something. I still want this cave gecko, so if you want to meet up again, I'm willing to try that, but I'd appreciate it if, this time you showed up, and maybe we could pick somewhere that's like more in between, because they were only having to drive like 10 minutes and I had to drive like an hour. So I was like, this time I'd appreciate it if it could be more in the middle. And the person said, okay, that's fine, but I'm going on a trip for 2 weeks and I won't be able to meet with you until I get back. So I was like, oh my god, okay. So I was like, that's completely fine, I totally understand. I was nothing but kind and courteous in the correspondence. So 2 weeks went by, this person didn't contact me. I contacted them, they got back to me and said that they had just gotten back that day or something like that, that they wanted to schedule a time for me to pick up the cave geckos. They gave me a time, wouldn't give me a place, and then after like another week or so, I saw that they had edited the Craigslist ad to take away the cave gecko, and only the crested gecko was still for rehoming, because the original ad had 2 cave geckos and 2 crested geckos. They sold both cave geckos, didn't give me a single one of them, even though I had been strung along for almost a month in correspondence. And that was just really like the worst rehoming situation I've ever had. Arya and Sansa were probably second most difficult. I mean, I spent 8 months trying to get them, but at least I got them. The cave gecko, they just didn't even bother responding to me. They sold it out from under me, basically saying that like they were gonna give it to me, and then they gave it to someone else, which is totally their right if they didn't feel like I was deserving or if I wasn't educated enough or whatever. Like, that's completely fine, but I don't think that was the problem. I think they just didn't want to deal with me anymore after they had already missed the first appointment that we were supposed to meet up and exchange the gecko. So I was heartbroken, and I could tell exactly what these 2 geckos were. They're both cave geckos, and I could tell where they were from. There's someone kind of local to me who breeds cave geckos, and I could tell they were his, and I asked them and they said yes, that they were his, that they had bought 2 of them recently at an expo, and that they just, they were getting divorced or something, so they couldn't keep them. So that's what happened. Otherwise, I would have a cave gecko right now. It's so disappointing. And then when I went to NARBC like a few weeks later, I saw the cave geckos there. Probably ones that were related to the ones that I was trying to get, because I saw that breeder there. But because I didn't want to buy from a breeder, I didn't do it. And like, it irks me like to my soul, because I really want one, but I know that it's more important not to support breeding when you can support a rehoming situation. So I'm not shaming breeders either, because there's plenty of great breeders, and he's not a bad breeder, but it's just my preference. Moving on, so I almost got a cave gecko, and ever since then I have been scrolling the Craigslist, listening to people talk about cave geckos. I'm like, is there one with special needs? Is there one that needs rescuing? Is there one that needs adoption? Because I really, really want one. But I haven't come across it, so I just have to wait. And equally, I've been waiting so I just hit my knee. Sorry, Marcella. Long for an opportunity to adopt, rescue, or take in a special needs crocodile skink. Crocodile skinks are one of the most beautiful little baby dragons I've ever seen in my whole life. I already know how to care for them. I already know exactly what their setup would look like. Well, not there, but his or her. I wouldn't have more than one. I already know exactly what it would be. I have everything in my mind already. Like, it kills me because I don't have one, but I know exactly how I would care for it. Crocodile skink. I want one so bad. But I'm basically waiting. Just waiting for the situation to come along where I can get one, because you typically only find them from breeders, and I don't, like I said, want to support a breeder. So just waiting for that situation to come along, and the moment that it does, your girl will have a crocodile skink, because I want one so bad. I don't even have the room for one, okay? And I still get it. I find somewhere to put its enclosure. Put it in my bedroom. Put it somewhere. Okay, I want a crocodile skink. Aside from a crocodile skink and a cave gecko, there are other animals that I want, but those two are like my I must have them type of animals. I have to have them. I already have names picked out. Like, it's insane. Like, I know I'm gonna have them. Another animal that I really want is a leaf-tailed gecko. I think that they are just like the most like archaic, unique looking geckos, and it's no surprise that most of the animals on this list are reptiles and that most of the animals on this list are geckos, because I have a lot of geckos, and reptiles are really what, you know, I feel like the best about. Like, my list doesn't have hamsters or gerbils or rabbits or guinea pigs. Like, I'm not a huge fan of rodents and mammals in general. Rats are like the exception to the rule because they're just like the most brilliant little creatures on the face of this earth. So yeah, there's not going to be any hamsters or anything on this list. I don't want anyone to get disappointed, but leaf-tailed gecko is one of them. And a lot of these animals, I already know their care. Like, I've already done the research, because I have to wait for the situation to come to me instead of like doing the research and then going and getting one. So I do all the research first, and then once I see one, I get it, and then I make it all happen in that moment. So leaf-tailed gecko is one of them. Knob-tailed gecko is another. I think knobtails are one of the coolest things ever, and they're becoming more popular like recently. When I went to NARBC, which is like a really big reptile convention, I saw a bunch of knobtails, and I was surprised because like last year I didn't see that many. So they're becoming more popular, I think. Another gecko that my fiance and I have been trying to get for like 2 years is a lychee gecko, a lycheeanus. It's the world's biggest gecko, and they're massive and they're beautiful, and I just think that they're incredible creatures. And my fiance and I 2 times have tried to get a special needs or like disabled lychee gecko. We messaged within the first half hour, but someone had already paid for it within that half hour. So the demand for inexpensive lychees is there, because lychees are really expensive right now, and you just have to wait for like the situations to come to you. Like, Genova is our gargoyle gecko, and she has a humpback, and she was only like $30 or $70 or something like that. I think it was $30 shipping, she was $70, something like that. But she was a like adoptable gecko because she can't be bred because of her humpback. So Aaron saw the post and was like, yes, we want a gargoyle gecko that is adoptable. And within like 2 days she was on her way here, and now she's massive and beautiful and giant and just fierce and awesome. And so we've been trying to have the same situation for a lychee, but twice now we have been jilted. So have to wait for our time to come along. Aside from a lychee, I want a firebelly newts. I had firebelly newts years ago, and through like a period of like horrible things happening, so like their cage broke, like the glass shattered, all the water spilled out the back. Fortunately they weren't in it. I had them in a container with like a locked lid. They were in like a deli cup, and I went to class because I had to go to class that day, and I came home and the container, which was like locked, sealed, had some like tiny little air holes in it, but it was like a deli cup, like the same one that like, you know, reptiles and stuff are shipped in. The deli cup only had 1 newt in it, so I had named them Toothless and Norbert. Norbert had escaped, and Toothless is all I had left, and I had no idea where Norbert was. I was like, okay, unless Toothless ate him, which no, they were the same size, then I was like, I have no idea where he went. It was literally still closed. Like, then the holes were tiny. So it was still closed, and I was like, what is this magician doing? I don't understand. So I followed the rules, which is like lining the perimeter of your room with like moist towels, because that's where they'll go to the perimeters, and like that moist towel helps them, like, you know, stay hydrated. Never ever found him. Never. And then I had taken the broken aquarium. I had another aquarium that I just like quickly built up that same day after I got back from class, after Norbert was already gone, and I put tape over the like sides. So like when you have a screen topping, there's like little corner slits that don't meet. I put tape over every single one of those because I was like, no one is escaping. And like I had them in a 10-gallon without these taped the whole time. No one escaped. Deli cup, escape. So I put holes over this because I was like really paranoid. I next morning go to check on Toothless, and he was gone. How? I have no idea. I don't know. Never found them. They were not in my room. They were not like anywhere. No sign of them. They disappeared, and yeah, they were gone. I never saw them again, and it was really tragic. It was horrible. I had wanted firebelly newts for a long time, and then when I finally got them, they both disappeared on me. Like, it was horrible. It was horrible. So after that, I decided not to keep newts. So a few years later, I went to look to get more after like some time had passed, like I said, a few years later. And there was a ban on the importation of newts because of like a disease that had broke out in another country with newts that was like really horrible. So they couldn't ship them. So to this day, I still don't have any. It is what it is. But if I come across a situation of adoption or rescue or anything like that, then I will be getting firebelly newts. And also, side note, firebelly newts cannot be kept with firebelly toads. They cannot. People always think because they have the same name they can be kept together. They can't. Okay, so I'm scrolling down my laptop to see the rest of my list. So the last on my list of like I know I'll probably have is a white tree frog. Now, I think that they are the coolest. Those are also called dumpy tree frogs. They have like a bazillion names. I feel like it gets very confusing, but they're just beautiful, like chubby, sweet frogs. And I have some frogs already, and I've wanted more frogs since, but I just haven't gotten one. Another frog that I think I'd be cool to have is a Pac-Man frog. I'm more interested in the dumpy frog than I am the Pac-Man frog, or like a tree frog in general, more than a Pac-Man frog. But I think the one thing that turns me off about Pac-Man frogs is that so many people feed their Pac-Man frogs pinky mice, and I'm not about that game. In fact, I'm going to record a video about why I won't keep snakes after this, and so that's kind of like a part 2, because it's not just snakes, it's anything that eats mice or rats. So if you're interested in watching that video, it'll be coming up sometime after this one. Yeah, so if I come across a Pac-Man frog that doesn't eat pinky mice, then I'm down, but other than that, probably not. So there's 4 more animals on my list. One of them is a greyhound. I want a greyhound so bad. Lately, I have been addicted to the idea of having a greyhound. I wanted them years ago, like when I was in college, and then since I've been out of college for some time, I already have my dog Jackson, and then I was talking with my fiance about, like, you know, of course we'll have more than my Jackson and his Jackson. Yes, his dog is also named Jackson. We did not plan that. We love dogs. We're dog people to heart. And one of the dogs that I want to have is a greyhound. I met a bunch of greyhounds that are retired racing greyhounds that are from an organization in Michigan that fosters and rescues and adopts out greyhounds, and I know that I'll be getting my greyhound from there. In addition, I'd also like to have a German Spitzklein, which is what everyone calls a Pomeranian, but it's not a Pomeranian. And it's basically like, how do I describe this? So you know how there are some Pomeranians that have like long, sleek hair and skinny, long legs, and they're kind of like bigger than what you think a Pomeranian would be? And then there's Pomeranians which are like small, compact, really puffy hair that like sticks out. So German Spitzklein are the sleek-haired ones that are like, you know, long-legged and they're not like really tiny. And then you have Pomeranians, which are the tiny ones with like really poofy hair. I don't like Pomeranians. Too much like inbreeding and like perfection breeding, it just doesn't appeal to me. But I had a German Spitzklein that was sold as a Pomeranian when I was a kid, and I have loved the idea of having another German Spitzklein ever since. I think that they are one of the most beautiful dog breeds, and I love that their hair doesn't get all over the place like my Jacksons or my other dogs. Like Sam is a lab and Zach is a basset hound, and their hair is everywhere. So I would like to, in addition to having my Jackson, who is a mutt, and Aaron's Jackson, who is a Rottweiler who sheds a lot, I would like to have dogs that don't shed as much, which would be a Greyhound or a German Spitz Klein. Aside from dogs, which I can't have right now, obviously, because they don't own my own house, I would love to have a ferret. Well, not a ferret, but ferrets. I think that they're like the most fun looking, playful, energetic, furry noodles, and I think that they'd be a great animal to have. I would be getting them from the ferret rescue that's in Chicago, and I've had my eye on them for a long time, and I check sometimes just for like the fun of it, just to see what adoptable ferrets they have. And I know that this is not a creature that I will have like right now. It is not. They are an animal for sure that I'll have to have my own space for, like a whole separate room. I'd want to ferret proof a room, have a really awesome cage, and then like have the room be ferret proof so that I can let them out and they can play in that room and have a really nice time. And it's just not possible right now. And I also have rats, so if I ever have ferrets, it'll be when I don't have rats. So I think that I can only really manage having one like mammal, rodent, whatever at a time. I know that ferrets aren't rodents, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, I think I could only handle having one at a time due to like the time they take for like bonding and playing and cleaning and feeding and all the things you have to do for them. I imagine ferrets take a buttload of time because they have a lot of energy to let out, so I wouldn't want to, you know, neglect one animal, rat, over another ferret, you get what I'm saying? So I think I would only have enough energy to give to one mammal, rodent at a time. And last but not least, I would like to have a bird. And my fiance is more into this than I am, but I'm really open-minded to the idea after watching tons and tons of videos of my parrot garden on Instagram. I love her account, okay? Love her parrots, love all of it. It's amazing. Her birds are amazing. She's amazing. So go check her out. But anyways, she also has reptiles too, but that's a separate account. So if you go to that account, you'll see the reptile account. Anyways, my fiance loves birds and he loves interacting with them. He thinks they're so intelligent and that they're so cool. And we've talked about having a bird before, but it's not possible with our current like living situation and with the amount of space that we have. And likewise with a ferret, if I ever had a bird, I want to give it a whole bedroom where I could like hang perches and ropes and it could have an entire space to fly like an aviary instead of just being in a cage, which the cage would probably be for like nighttime or whatever. But I just can't imagine like having such a big intelligent creature like stuck in a cage in a room with a bunch of other things all the time, that I couldn't let it out to have as much space as it wanted. So I'm not sure what species it would be. I personally like Quaker parrots. He likes African greys, but he likes the really big birds. And I'm like, can we get something that's a little less threatening? Okay, African greys look scary. We've met a few that are a little aggressive. Okay, so I want something smaller that's a little less threatening. But yeah, those are all of these species that I'm sure I'll have sometime in my life. I don't know when. I hope the Cape gecko and the crocodile skink are something I have soon rather than later, but I'm willing to wait for the right situation. I'm willing to wait for them because they're worth it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Leave down in the comments below animals that you don't have but you're dying to have. If you like this video, please subscribe, and when you do subscribe, hit the little bell thing that you have to hit nowadays on YouTube, and check out the links below for every social media you could ever imagine, as well as links to Patreon and merchandise, new merchandise was just released, so check that out. Every time you make a purchase, it helps me out, it helps my animals out, and I'm really, really, really appreciative, so thank you. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching again, and I'll see you next time. Bye!